Wake up, buy here, pay here people. It's a beautiful day. Go grab yourself another cup of joe and say hello to Jim and Michelle Rhoads on the Buy Here, Pay Here Morning Show. Take it away, you two.
Good morning. We're joining you old school.
Yeah, no microphones, no headsets. And we'll get that figured out because, my belief is that folks in the buy here, pay here industry deserve good audio.
They do.
They
deserve the best of the audio. And we're also getting older, so we deserve the best audio for us to hear as well. So we're having a problem being able to hear Bill. So we're just like, all right, we're just going to do this old school and get it figured out for Monday.
Mr. Bill Neylan from TaxMax standing by. So he's backstage waiting to join us. We just a couple of quick announcements. We got, of course, we mentioned we got the whole Marietta conference coming up. That's the 24th through the 26th. And then you got LHPH Summit in October. That'll be the 12th through the 14th in San Diego.
And we will be there. And so we will be interviewing speakers after they're done. Jim's going to be running, listening to their address and then asking questions afterwards that we are going to be sharing through all of our social media channels. This is for the questions that Jim and I are going to do and broadcast live. That is not a ticketed piece of this. If you want to come to the summit and be there and get the full rich content of all of the things that the speakers are going to be talking about, that you can go ahead and purchase one of those tickets. A beautiful San Diego area.
Yeah, and meet all the smart people. So
same thing with Marietta. Well, but Marietta, we're not going to be there to broadcast. But I know with that one, everyone is getting in for the same price. It doesn't matter if you're a member there or if you're a member of a state association outside of that region. So, anything else?
We still are working on pulling together some dealer panels. We're back and forth on getting those on the agenda. So, but look for that. We've got quite a few topics that look like they're going to be panel discussions in the coming weeks. So stay tuned for more of that.
Absolutely.
And we might just get a audio verification from outside. Those of you who are tuned in, if you just give us a heads up.
Usually they'll say, can't hear you, but I'm pretty sure that they can. So just let us know. We're going to bring Bill on and say good morning to him. Bill.
Good morning.
Now you're joining us from Florida.
Yes.
Because, we just left there. This last
Michelle's
spring.
still a little melancholy.
I'm still a little melancholy about, dolphins and water and all of that kind of stuff. But
the hurricane, it took all the humidity with it. So even though it's 95 degrees, it feels like it's 72.
Nice.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It's beautiful outside.
Yeah. I got to say, we obviously enjoyed our time in Florida. I have quite enjoyed our time here in Utah. Yeah. It's been nice and cool and dry. We've been surprisingly cool.
You should come out and visit.
Yeah, please.
I'd love to.
Yeah. It's the state of Utah has more national parks than any other state. And I mean, if you enjoy outdoor activities, this is like a mecca of all this. I don't know if you saw that. I'm trying to think of. Well, we've had other colleagues that have brought their families here and done a lot of hiking and enjoying all of that. So if you get an opportunity, my heart is still partially in Florida. Yeah. Will be probably till the day I die, but we'll be spending some time hopefully there this winter.
For sure.
So welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, that reminds me, a quick mention too. We got the Florida conference coming up at the end of October. I think that's 29th through 31st, right, Bill? I'm sure you'll be there for that one.
Yeah.
So we expect to be on hand for that as well. Looking forward to it.
And we're supporting and sponsoring the Marietta conference as well. So we'll be out there. Yep.
So if you want to meet Bill in person.
In Atlantic City. I like Atlantic City.
I've never been.
Really? So, the boardwalk's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, Bill says he lost us. So may have a little bit of an audio problem, but you're still hearing us, Bill. So I'm not sure what the issue would be there, but we'll proceed. And because the thing, as long as we're hearing each other and it's getting recorded in the thing, then we should be all right. We also we have some other things we can check on the technical side here, but all good. We should get around to talking about exciting stuff like taxes.
Yay!
It's coming.
Yeah.
Well, we just well, not just, but we closed up our big, the tax season, which is usually a pretty big time for dealers to, good down payments, all that kind of stuff. And so we kind of wanted to talk a little bit about what you saw.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was the tax season like this year for TaxMax?
So this year was a really good year, or the one that just wrapped up was a really good year. In 2020 and 2021, it was a little soft on the TaxMax side because of the fact that, what we do is we kind of match a consumer with a big refund to a dealer. And obviously the consumer needs that tax refund to buy a car. Stimulus out in the system in 2020 and 2021. You had the option, use your tax refund to buy a car or use your stimulus 1, 2, or 3 to buy a car. It's kind of crazy with the amount of money out there. So consumers are hungry again. So last tax season, we saw a substantial uptick in filings through us matching consumers with dealers. And we expect that to grow another 20 to 30% this year. You're seeing a lot of, matter of fact, I saw yesterday, bankruptcies are up for the 13th month in a row.
Wow.
So that means that consumers are back to the usual being broke.
Yeah. We're seeing other indicators of that. And obviously, we just anecdotally, you see across the industry, a lot of, consumers struggling and we know, between gas prices and food prices and all those things, consumers are struggling. But when I think about, what I hear from dealers, across just social media and all the places that we all talk to dealers, we hear a lot of dealers say tax refund season is not what it used to be. And we know there's some truth to that. Maybe you can help us understand when they say what it used to be, if we think back to 10 to 15 years ago, like what's shifted, Bill?
So what it used to be was basically everyone waited for the consumer to get their refund in January and February. And then they came coming in and kicking the doors down, wanting to buy a car in January, February. We created a fourth quarter program about 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago, where we can take that peak of filings and stretch them out. So I asked people, why is there a tax season? Well, it's because people need their refund to buy a car. So it's pent up demand. So what we do is we give dealers the ability to start selling cars now using the future tax return. So we're taking those consumers out of the market and taking that January, February peak and kind of flattening it down.
Yeah.
Because someone who needs to buy a car now, October, November, December, traditionally had to wait for the refund. But now we have dealers using the TaxMax program that can actually sell the car now using the refund that's coming in the future. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I think, I'm somebody who has familiarity with TaxMax dating back to the late 90s. I mean, as a manager in Oklahoma, I was using that very successfully, as a program back then. And so I have an understanding of how that can work. And also have a pretty good understanding of how dealers can, some best practices that dealers can use, especially in the fourth quarter. And it's always funny to me, Bill, we talk to a lot of people on social media and some of our own clients, and many of them are nervous about putting a customer in a car in December with a promise of a February tax refund. And I just find that interesting that, dealers are in that business and somehow they sometimes are uncomfortable, stretching that gap. And so TaxMax is a beautiful solution for that, but dealers have to get comfortable with it. And I feel like dealers help themselves by helping their customers get comfortable with how that whole thing works. And so that's part of what we're always trying to do with our clients is help them understand how to make that work well.
So let me ask you, both of you. So kind of what this means too is that, we know that not during tax season that down payments are much lower. And that kind of sometimes makes a dealer a little bit nervous too, because there's an awful lot more risk on the road. But this kind of gives you a little bit of a cushion, a way of being able to let's get them in now at a lower down. And we're starting, and it's only going to be like 3-4 months before they get their tax return with that promise to pay. And so you can keep their payments lower. And then they pay that, and it just levels it all out. So so what I'm hearing is you have the ability to be able to take a lower down payment, keep the payment low during that fourth quarter, and then make up for a lot of that within just a few months once we get into the tax season.
And the funny thing is, you already said it, right? The down payments during tax season are much higher. So what we tell our dealers to do is, whether it's October, November, December, you ask for that same tax season amount. So let's say you usually settle for $700 throughout the year, but you want $2,000 January, February, and March. Well, going into selling a car today, you still ask for the $2,000.
Right.
You know they don't have it, but you ask for the $2,000. When they pony up that $700 or $800 that you would have said, okay, well, we would do that deal anyway. That's when you introduce the TaxMax program to get that extra amount of money. And dealers wrap their, and Jim, you said it perfect. Dealers are scared. They're already in the risk business. So if you were willing to underwrite a customer with 700 down, or for those who are listening, whatever your number is, so don't get fixated on the 700. If your number is 1,000 or 1,100, if you were willing to do that deal anyway, at that point in time, you say, Mr. Customer, would you like to skip the last 4 or 5 months worth of payments? Well, that begs, sure, I would love to do that. Well, let's estimate your tax return and see if you qualify, where we can schedule a $1,300 payment in your contract for March the 5th.
Right.
If they say, no, I don't want to do it, you're selling the car anyway.
Right.
So it's kind of like a no, all you're doing is shrinking the term 15%. As Michelle said, you're getting that extra money in February, in March. If you don't get it, you just rewrite the loan and go back to the loan you would have sold at 1,100 or the 700 down. So that's the biggest thing. Now, what we're not saying is you take no money down and take a $4,000 deferred down in March. We're not saying that.
Right.
It has to be your normal underwriting criteria is first. You negotiate your down payment second. At that point in time, you introduce the extra.
Yeah, and there's so many pieces of this. I think one of those would be, I as a former dealer, I would want to get the customer comfortable with TaxMax, because as a dealer, that allows me to make sure the money flows through me to the customer.
Jim, when he was a dealer, used TaxMax.
Yeah.
So
and very well.
And he did very well.
He did very well.
I think part of that for me is part of what Michelle and I work on in our coaching is we ask dealers to understand the importance of being known, liked, and trusted. And so we think that's a real factor here, because when I just remember the conversations, Bill, having conversations with customers directly myself, and having them help them understand why it makes sense for them to, because otherwise we don't normally think going to a car dealership to do our taxes. That's, we're more likely to go to a tax preparer. So why would the customer choose to come to a dealership? And we have our reasons for offering them that. But if we offer those reasons and they trust us, then we can help get them in the car that they need, and they can get the same refund, maybe more than they would get elsewhere. But it's like, you don't have to oversell anything. And what it does for me is it allows me as the dealer to allow the customer into the car sooner, with the promise of the refund, handling later. And so, that fourth quarter language, I think, is really important, helping dealers and their team know how to communicate with the customer in the interest of getting them comfortable with, because as you said, I want to do the deal anyway. What that also lets me do is be preemptive and sell cars before, instead of waiting till January and February where it's every man and woman for themselves. We get the opportunity to put the customer in the car in December and not have to manage the car on our lot in January and February. We're already on to replacing the inventory.
Yeah.
Right?
And we have we've been really working hard the last 6 months. We have some exciting things that, one is breaking news here in this podcast. We actually partnered with Secure Close, and we now have a secure close for the fourth quarter and irregular payment for TaxMax.
Wonderful.
Which will explain everything as if it's being perfect.
Nice.
It's explained the perfect way, the perfect time, giving them the benefits, telling them why you have a seasonal payment, also acknowledging that they're aware of this, also explaining that this payment is in your contract and that you are aware this payment exists, and also aware that to satisfy your obligation to file your taxes through the dealership. You don't have to be a current customer of Secure Close to take part of this product. So TaxMax and Secure Close is offering this at no extra charge. We're rolling it out. Our goal is October 1st. I just saw the finished product yesterday. So now we're just trying to connect all the technology dots behind the scenes. But it's an actual TaxMax avatar with wearing a white with the TaxMax logo on it, white shirt, explaining, and then the customer has to enter their initials at 3 separate spots to understand.
Beautiful. Love it.
Yeah, that's wonderful. We did an updated demo. I know that Jim's familiar with Secure Close from before, but we just at the Arizona conference, we did a new demo, and that's a pretty. We're seeing different capital providers. It's like, hey, this is something that this type of product is something that we prefer over mailing all your stuff in, and it's
it's a brilliant company. It's a brilliant company.
Really smart. Yeah, absolutely.
And
so we're proud of that partnership.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm aware that there's a guy working with Ace Christian over at Secure Close by the name of Stan Heinz, who would be pretty familiar with the TaxMax program, right?
Yes.
So
tell us why, because I have no idea. Yeah. Why?
I'll actually email you the off the air, obviously the test video,
cool.
so you can see it, because Jim, you're one of the VIP all-stars of TaxMax, and you've always done it correctly, and you understand it, and you have to understand it. I think that's the key.
Well, and that's kind of you to say, and you can probably tell that I do it because I know it's good for TaxMax and it's great for dealers, right? It's so great,
and it's good for the.
I was just gonna say, it's great for the customers. They save a lot of money.
Yeah. I think
so. Outside of purchasing, can TaxMax be used for other parts of, is this something that can be used if there's a major repair that has to be done?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great question, because what a lot of dealers do is they do the repair. They'll either do it for free and not get anything for it, because they know if they don't do it that they're going to repo the car, fix the car anyway, sell it to someone else. Or they'll set up a side note and collect maybe $10 a month on the repair note. We always say to dealers, pitch it to the customer, well, we would consider doing this repair on your behalf, but you would have to, let's estimate your tax return. Let's set up a note where you pay $10 a month, but the entire balance is due using your tax return on March the 5th.
Good.
So, Michelle, I'm glad you brought that up, because that is a very underutilized part of the program.
Yeah.
Most dealers will collect less than 17% of their repair notes. Our statistics show about 46 to 47%. Still not 100, but you might be able to triple the cash flow.
Sure.
To help pay for these repairs.
Yeah.
Well, we've touched on a couple of things that I think we ought to clarify for anybody who's listening and that's newer to this. Like, there's a difference between a deferred down payment and a special payment. So we're talking about, for example, contracting somebody in December and having a payment come due in March. So that's probably not going to fall in a deferred down payment category. That's going to be in a special, or I hear them sometimes called irregular payment. So it's just it's not the same as a balloon payment. It's just an additional installment that goes on the contract. So a couple of things that have to happen. One, I've run into a couple states where that's not permitted. So we got to be careful, know your state requirements. And then you need the right software and the right contract to be able to do those kind of creative structures. But I just find it's another area that we'd like to help dealers understand how to utilize that for the benefit of themselves and their customers.
And I'm going to back up one of the things and just make sure that everyone that's listening hears that, is that your DMS has to support in their contracts an irregular payment structure. So not all DMSs.
AutoMaster, Wayne Reeves, ComSoft, IDMS.
And not only does your DMS have to be able to support that, you have to opt into that kind of ability within. So it's not just it's something you just need to reach out to them and say, hey, I'm going to be doing irregular payments. I need that turned on, or whatever.
And if any dealer needs help, just reach out to me directly, and I can steer them in the right direction.
Yeah, and same over here. Like we developed a lot of great practices around how to do that and have it be successful. Because one thing to put it on the contract, and I hear a lot of dealers say, "Well, I did it and the customer didn't pay it." Well, there are some things that we have to implement in order to make sure and remind the customer and verify and communicate with them to remind them that they have that responsibility.
Which is something that we talk about all the time, is like, does the communication with your customer end after they sign the thing, unless you have a payment problem, or are you constantly communicating with them? Because that's part of
hopefully the latter.
Yes, you need to communicate with them and keep them so that they're engaged.
And this just kind of goes, it's like proactivity, but it's beyond that. It's like, it's very persistent proactivity to communicate, connect with the customer, verify that they remember that when the tax refund comes, if it's not processed through the dealer, that they have that obligation. So I think it's just an important thing that we know that can help dealers to help customers to, one, help the customer get in the car that they need when they need it. Two, to keep the payments sensible by scheduling that in the arrangement. And so there's just a lot of positives around that. And we just know that there's an opportunity for dealers to utilize a program like TaxMax to have a chance to create volume. And then if they promote it right in the fourth quarter, that can really bring a lot of that.
It'll
business.
level it out. And, you know, you hear people, it's like, oh my gosh, the first quarter of the year is just nuts. And it's like,
well, and it's funny you said that. So we have a lot of new breaking news too, that once again, I wanted to say for this podcast for the first quarter. So at Steve Levine's Compliance Unleashed conference in May, we unveiled our new product, which is called our Web Direct product, where now dealers can put a button on their website where the customer files through TaxMax, and the dealer no longer does any of the work.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
So another product that announcing right now, we've partnered with Big Time Advertising, and they are doing all the creative assets for the fourth quarter program. There's a campaign for every month, starting October, November, December, all the way through March. So instead of telling a dealer, here's what you need to do, we're going to give you the creative assets as part of the program. And Big Time is developing all the assets, and they're wonderful. We'll be posting them up soon.
That's fantastic.
Yes. So we're making it so simple for the dealer. You literally just put these assets up on your website. Big Time did social media, website banners, little wraps around each car in your inventory, Facebook. I mean, all kinds of, you literally just, it's all right there. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And now when you add the button on their website, you literally, the dealer does nothing. They just sit back and collect the money. So to tie the fourth quarter and the first quarter together, just like Michelle said, you have to keep on top of these folks. The dealer can now say, look, go to our website and file to satisfy your obligation. They can file from home. They don't have to go into the dealership anymore. It's all paperless. It's a wonderful thing. Another new product we have is that all the tax preparation fees to the customer can be zero if the dealer wants to add on the Elite product. The other cool thing about the button on the website, it now acts as lead generation. So if a consumer clicks, basically what we say is, right, everything's all starts with the dealer's website. So the dealer works to funnel everything through their website. While the consumer, who they don't know who they are, is looking at their inventory, can click on the file and drive campaign. They start filling out the application, the first page that asks for their name, their cell phone number, and their email address. Even if they don't finish or if they don't file, the dealer can run a report every day. We'll capture everybody that was on their website and give them their name, phone number, and email address. Now they can call them up and say, hey, Jim, I saw you're on our website looking for a vehicle. Let's schedule an appointment and have you come on in.
Sure.
So, and it's all free. It's all just included. So we've made it so simple now.
Yeah. And we this is, we usually don't, and we don't like things getting pitchy.
Well, I don't mean it to be that way.
No. But it's like TaxMax has been such a beautiful tool for dealers, and there is really nothing out there that's like this that offers this kind of benefit to a dealer. And so I know for our clients that TaxMax is something that we talk to them about. And some of them, no, we're going to do it the same way, and others have enjoyed the benefits of that. But it's a great tool to help dealers solve problems, get people into a car, level out that buying frenzy in the first quarter. And it really is it's a win-win. And I personally love the idea that it can be used also for those repairs that happen during the course of a loan. And that sometimes they're small, sometimes they're big, but it's like this is a way for us to be able to support without having to have it come out of our pockets. And
I always say you're tying an obligation to a source of funds.
Yes. And I know, Jim, when Jim had his dealership, he didn't pay for any of the repairs. He would help get it taken care of up front, and then the customer, the consumer, would make payments to pay those things off. And so it is possible for all you dealers out there. It really is possible, if you have the right tools, to be able to support our customers without it killing your bank account.
And same for delinquent accounts too. As I mentioned, delinquencies and bankruptcies are on the rise. So it's a solution. Once again, if someone's behind $600, $700, $800, tie that funding source of the tax refund to get the customer current.
Yeah, and we recognize a lot of our dealers that would be listening have reinsurance solutions that address repairs and some of those kind of things. So they would, they may not have the same problem. I just know that for dealers who are doing side notes and financing some of the repairs, I developed a practice, Bill, with myself and my team when a customer wanted, because it was common for the customer to say, hey, if you can help me with the repairs and put it at the end of my note, like that would come up a lot if you put it at the end of my note. And the answer just became no. Unfortunately, that just with our team, we just know that
they don't make it to the end.
So we just said, no, that's really not an option, but we could talk about repaying it from tax refund. So, you always can try to get ways to shorten it up. I'm always trying to help dealers accelerate getting paid, let's get paid as quickly as we possibly can and reduce our risk. And so that's part of what happens. And I just want to make sure and restate for the kind of the thing. One of the things that's so important, I think, for the fourth quarter is just training. I think if I could emphasize one thing, it's like your customer's not going to choose to do taxes with you unless you get them comfortable. Now, for the website thing, that's a different thing. Obviously, that's however the customer chooses to interact with the website. But if they're in the building, and I'm thinking really about dealerships who have established flow of traffic or routine dialogue with customers, then throughout the fourth quarter, it's going to be a prominent part of conversation, and we're going to start having that conversation with customers who are already financed with us and starting to spread the word about that, because it's just I feel like dealers have to get comfortable enough and get their entire team comfortable with it so that they can help the customer understand what a positive it is for them. Yeah. And so it's just training to get them familiar with, with how it works and why it's such a benefit to everybody involved. And so I just think we want to emphasize that and make sure that dealers learn how to get their entire team comfortable telling the story that is TaxMax.
And the cool thing too with the secure close avatar now, it's being pitched the same way every time in the perfect way that the sales staff will actually understand it as well. They kind of get on board.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and that is one of the things with the secure close that I really appreciated was it is addressing a lot of compliance issues.
Correct.
And so it's like it's taking it out of the dealer being on the front line of compliance. It's kind of mitigating that risk of you having a problem with that.
And it's said the way you want it to be said, exactly the same wording.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah, that's valuable.
That's very valuable.
For sure. So, we had a quick mention. I wouldn't explain to Michelle who Stan Heinz is. So Stan's somebody I worked with way back in the early 2000s, and he was the original. He was a founder, was he not, with TaxMax?
He was. Yeah. So funny enough, both in 1995, I started tax refund services, and in 1995, he started TaxMax.
Okay.
And then we worked independently with dealers, did the same thing, and then our paths had crossed. And after many talks and conversations, we kind of merged, or we acquired TaxMax.
Yeah, got it. Yeah.
Fantastic.
And I worked with Stan way back.
Stan's an awesome guy.
Yeah, smart guy. So I think we can wrap up there, Michelle. I think we covered the key parts. And I would just say, for dealers who are kind of grumbling about tax refund season is not what it was, then here's an opportunity to
or
be able to
if
build
you've
it
got
up.
people that are like falling behind and we just want to get them back on track, that this is an option to be able to do that, rather than it becomes too much of a stressor for the custober, and so they just leave.
Right.
And they can contact me with any questions. There's I don't mean this to be a sales pitch. I get excited. I'm really excited for the new stuff, and it's fun talk with Jim. Like I said, Jim's kind of like in the TaxMax Hall of Fame, so I get excited to talk to you guys. But a dealer can talk to me with no sales pitch, just for advice, and they don't have to use us or not. We have over 2,000 dealers. We don't need to strong arm anybody. If someone wants just to have a conversation or ask a question, they want to do their own thing, then we'll give them all the advice they need. And I want dealers to survive and make money in any way they can. So
yeah,
awesome.
Great.
Very good.
Yeah, we should let you go.
Thank you.
We know how to find you. Anybody that's trying to find TaxMax, you can always reach out to us. We can help you get connected with them.
If you got a second, just stay backstage until we close off so we can say goodbye properly. Thanks, Bill, so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And thanks to all that listen. We appreciate it.
Thanks. Yeah. All right. Well,
good stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. And it, Jim's been talking about this as a tool since I met him, which has been a little minute.
I think it was 1997 when I first used TaxMax.
And it sounds like that they've just really been able to keep up with the needs and the times and the technology and all of those kind of things. And so it still is a very relevant product, and even more, more opportunity for you to mitigate a lot of the risks. Yeah. I love that thing with Secure Close. That's
it's
cool.
An evolving and improving product, and it'll be around as long as customers are getting tax refunds in a poor credit situation. So that's just the reality.
It doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon. So absolutely. All right. Well, we appreciate you all joining us today. I'm kind of like, since we're not on the board, I'm thinking, how the heck do I play the exit music? I could hum something.
Well, go ahead and sing. Go ahead and sing a little. Sing us off.
I'm not going to sing us off, but thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you making us a part of your morning or a part of your day. And we'll have this up on our podcast platforms with this morning. So you'll be able to catch it also on any of the major podcast stations. So have a great day, everybody. Thanks again. We really appreciate you joining us.
Have a good weekend.
Bye.